Hey guys,
What's up?
Matt and Brandon here.
How you doing?
We just want to tell y'all that you probably think this channel is good. It's because you haven't watched Muscle Rod Shop and Demolition Ranch
Very
yet.
true. Yeah.
There's just a lot of better options out there than Holden Bros.
So many.
So do yourself a favor, do us a favor. Really, this is mostly for you though, is why we're saying this. I'd just go ahead and hit that unsubscribe button and dislike the video that you're probably watching right now.
Shop's fake, the new one.
And their shop is not real. It's actually just some dude, I actually know him, he's building that shop over there, and they just sneak in there when the guy's not there and pretend it's their shop.
Horrible.
They don't even know how to work on cars. I told him change my oil, he drained my transmission fluid.
That's bad.
Unsubscribe,
Really bad.
please. You're helping out liars here on this channel. Come over to these guys' channels. Good guys you can trust.
Absolutely.
Would never lie.
Nope.
Okay guys, y'all been along with us this whole time, rocking and rolling on doing the working on the property over here, and we've had a lot going on. I think there's quite a few people who are wondering, hey, are we ever going to work on the Cuda or the ranch thing again? Well, you know what, today's episode is your episode. Today's day is your day. This old 12er Mike right here, never met this guy in my life, but he's trying to out beard grow me. And
I think I'm slacking.
yeah, I don't know. I think he's.
Here, dude, you can have this. Look,
Yeah,
feel it, dude.
I don't like. Don't ever touch another man's beard tentacularly against yourself.
My beard tentacles.
Okay? Yeah, you'll be changing your pronouns. All right, so check this out. Nobody wants to hear me talk. They keep saying in the comments, just hush. We don't want to hear you talk.
Here, look at this.
Yeah, so I'll start cutting them up, folks. Check this out. This is Matt's new 289. It's a 289. We're taking the 6.0 out. We're putting a 289 one barrel in.
This is 6.5 to 1 compression. And
Flat.
I think it may run on peanut oil.
It's not just flat tappet, it's flat cam.
Yes.
It's got 100 inches, 0.100 lift gross at the valve seat.
Yep. Makes 100 pounds of vacuum.
Yeah.
But no power.
Yeah, so that's
There
what
you
we're
go.
going for. We're making a giant vacuum cleaner. No, all BS aside, y'all know what this is. Y'all know what this is. Warren diesel injection. These dudes, OG, killing it. 6.0 game, can't touch them. These dudes know what's up. So we got a whole little booklet full of some goodies in here we're gonna go
You know
over.
what this is, right?
I hope it's some kind of snack. I'm pretty hungry. Oh damn, that's those dudes, that's their low pressure oil pump right here, dude. Get you some. Made in USA. Dude, Warren Diesel, these dudes are badass.
We love you, Warren Diesel.
I like
and
these guys.
family and friends.
Every time we talk to these dudes are straight up. These guys know what they're doing when it comes to building a power stroke. And I can tell you right now, Steven and I are very excited to have these guys to have our back. So you're probably wondering, what is that? Or some of y'all already know, that's Matt's new short block. That's exactly what it is. This is the short block that's going in the ranch tank because we burned a piston up in it last time, and we're not planning on doing that this time. We're gonna turn up the power. We're hoping to burn up the transmission or blow up the rear axle,
Yeah,
not a motor.
Definitely pop lots of tires.
And this thing is definitely gonna pop lots of tires. We're running a set of, how big are the injectors? They're 250 100s, is that right?
I think so.
200 100s, something like that. We got
big boy.
big boys. Basically, we've got enough fuel to make 650, 700, right?
The tire.
Yeah, okay, so we also have a turbo kit that I'm gonna show y'all. It's way over there on that side of the shop with the Cuda and the ranch tank. I'm gonna show you that here in a second, but just wanted to show y'all that we got some parts, so it's time to get back to work on the ranch tank. We've only got, I don't even know what day it is right now. It's gotta be somewhere near the middle of August.
Yep, and it needs to be done in like a week or so because it's got to ship for a week and all that. Basically, we're under the same crunch as we were last time.
So we're out of time. We got a bunch of parts we've never seen or never touched.
We also have to put coil springs. Holly sent us coil springs for the front end to help with the weight. They sent us sway bar for the front. That way that thing doesn't do this so much.
Yeah, because it does lots of that.
And so, yeah, we got our work cut out.
Yeah, no, we definitely got plenty of stuff to do. But one big part of it's checked off the list, and that is having the short block. So the cylinder heads are down at Kotzer Racing in San Antonio. We had a few cracks, intake to injector tip, exhaust to injector tip.
But nothing that's gonna
We don't care
what
because we're gonna zing this thing's guts out. So what we're gonna try not to do is bang it on the red line and pull the wrist pin, the small end of the rod, out of the piston this time. We're gonna try to make a motor live. So I think we're planning on doing water injection.
Yep, shied water injection, which will be here at some point.
Any day.
Yep.
250 100s or thereabouts. SXE 369.
Let's go show them the turbo.
Let's just go, yeah. It's way better looking than it is for me to talk about it. So
it looks better than you.
here we go.
First, let me push the old man down. This
Push
is how
him.
you push old men down. Look, I got him.
That's Dweebus Maximus.
Yeah, that's your daddy.
Smetting coming in clutch. These dudes have sponsored Matt on the Cuda. If y'all don't know the Cuda, welcome to the Cuda. This thing's fixing to get a set of gears also. Finally, we've been waiting on parts forever to keep these things, or to get back to work on these things. They've been sitting here collecting dust, and we finally got some parts. So talked to Davey down there at Smetting. He got us hooked up. We sent one of the guys down there. He picked up our up pipes, which is gonna be for our T4 kit. This is part of the mount. This is the pedestal that's actually gonna hold the turbo. This stuff's made down there at Smetting.
Yeah, made in Bernie, Texas.
That's right down the road. And so basically, let me see that piece real quick, Steven. Let's show them. So
This one too, you can kind of get it.
yeah, so the up pipes come in kind of like this,
kind of down here.
kind of down there, kind of somewhere
Yep.
like that, kind of.
Yep.
They come off the backside. Then we have this
Like
pedestal
that.
that sets in here in the valley of the motor, just like that, looking all baller Mac. Then we got this bad boy right here. This is our whirly bird, Mongolian motor mangler.
Yeah, Taiwan turbo twister.
And this turbo is built at Smetting as well. It's got their exhaust housing, their compressor housing, their billet wheel, all their stuff. Like I said,
This thing
Smetting has been
sit
sponsoring
like
this guy. Look at that.
that.
We're gonna make a little noise this time.
Oh yeah.
So 369, this is a 69 millimeter inducer. This is their billet wheel. This is on the SXE cartridge. So
Borg
this
Warner,
is
baby.
this is a Borg Warner. I don't know if it's a Borg Warner genuine center cartridge. I don't know if they make it. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, well, that's a turbo.
Yeah, it is. It is a turbo and it moves air. And it is free and it looks awesome. So I hope it performs as well as it looks. I'm really banking on it working well. We've used quite a few turbos from Smetting. We use a lot of different resources. Smetting is one of your more budget-minded turbo companies and manufacturer companies. They do a lot of their own machining in-house. I'm not really sure how those guys keep the cost down on what those dudes have.
They got to have like robots or slave labor, or I mean, they gotta have something.
It's something.
Something we don't have.
They must
So,
have a better business model, because I can tell you right now, they're making turbos for a really affordable price, and for the most part, that stuff fits decent and works well. So we're gonna lean on it and scream its guts out. You'll see live what that does. This right here is their version of a high flow intake manifold for a 6.0. So it's got everything blocked off that you don't need. It's got everything punched out that you do need. Now, there is a little bit of some casting flash. We were looking at some stuff earlier. For the most part, 99% of it is really clean. I think we're going to actually take a deburr bit just inside some of the intake ports.
Yeah.
Clean some of that stuff up, because we are going to be screaming the guts out of this, and we don't want to have just a little piece fall in the motor. Not sure that it would affect any performance at all, but we're going to do it just in case. All these plugs that are in the top side, your typical 6.0 intake, the intake manifold actually bolts down through the intake into those little holes. But with this kit, the bolts are not even in the way on the inside for airflow of any type of restriction that would be there.
No.
Let me back up and say that again. The bolts, instead of running through the intake, bolt down inside, and then you put these plugs on.
Yeah, so you're using like a 1-inch fastener instead of a 4-inch
Exactly.
fastener.
So you've got a stronger bite, and you have less crap that's in the way obstructing the airflow. The mouthpiece up here flows considerably better than what
look
the
at the
factory
hole in
casting
that
is. Yeah, we're looking real good down in there. It's cast Smetting on there, so that's those
I
guys.
think this is a new product from them.
Okay, right on.
I don't think that many people have these yet.
Well, all the 6.0 guys that are out there need to pay attention and watch this, because this ought to be a pretty disgusting little kit. We're thinking we've got enough air to make 700.
Yeah,
we got enough
the
fuel.
stock bottom end's good for about that, and that's kind of what our limitation is.
And with talking with Warren Diesel, they were saying basically as long as you don't sit there on the red line beating the crap out of this thing at 42, 4, 500,
Yeah.
you won't pull the wrist pins out. The rods should live. This thing ought to make it through this whole little deal.
Yeah, so the motor's not like fully built with like aftermarket rods and pistons. What it has is stock pistons that are coated and chamfered for the heat, stock rods because they're good for 700 horse.
Probably
and stock
additional
crank.
piston to bore clearance.
Yep.
Maybe oil clearances on the rods
We
and mains.
We did get a cam,
Nice.
up the lift, get a little more air in there. So a mixture of the turbo, the cam,
the intake.
the intake.
We ought to be able to have enough air that we can
Matching
throw
that fuel.
a little bit of fuel at
Exactly.
it. I'm really hoping that we don't, because well, basically for time constraint, we're probably going to use the exhaust that we have, re-weld a new flange on there. I don't think, what is this, 3 1/4, 3 and a half? I don't think that short run is going to be a restriction. We're going to find out. I bet that size diameter pipe equals high velocity, really cool exhaust note. So we're going to roll with that for now. Yeah, basically we're to the point right now where we need to yank the motor out. So we were waiting on all this stuff to show up so that we can start filming this whole episode. In fact, this intro right now is actually going to be part of the episode that we are fixing to film on this thing. So y'all guys stay tuned. Fixing to be coming back at you when we move the wrench tank over to where it's going to go and get started pulling the motor. We might actually holler at Matt. I think he said he wanted to come down here and get a little bit of oil on his little bee.
Dirty up his nails.
Dirty up Matt's nails. What do y'all think? I'm thinking, yeah, right? Come on, Matt. Get in there.
Yeah,
Get
I wish
some.
we could find a job that like really got him good.
Yeah.
Like, what if we tell him that we need the oil pan off and we don't drain the oil, but we tell him, oh yeah, man, we got that drain.
Yeah, we
and
might
then
have to
he
do that.
takes like 4.5 gallons down his britches. So.
Oh, we love Matt, but we also like to mess with Matt because
someone has
you know
to
what?
mess with
Matt
him.
likes to mess with you too. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So hey,
Yep.
you got to give it, you got to take it, right? So we'll see. We'll find something where we can spill a little oil in his hair.
Oh,
All right, so you may be wondering, like, what's the CUDA here for? Maybe you forgot what it came in here for because it left Muscle Rod Shop and it's been here now. How long has it been here, Steven? 2 months?
yeah, we had
If it feels like 2 months, it's probably been 3 months.
Yeah, we had some people we were going to get gears from who promised us the moon. They fell out.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we talked to
So
probably
we waited a while for no reason.
2 or 3 different vendors. We were looking for a 430 gear because we were going to tell you all about effective gear ratio. We're still going to get into that, but we're actually going to use a 410 gear because one, we were trying to get it from AAM, a factory manufacturer. Couldn't get 410s from AAM.
Yeah, the hard problem is we have a Dana 60 in the front and the AAM in the rear, and so finding gears that will match both axles
is the thing.
Yeah.
Because we're running the same diameter tire on the front as we are on the back, and so the gear ratios have to match because you can't have one set of gears that spins slower or faster than the other with the same size tire. You end up with exploded transfer case, pretzel drive shaft, broken axle shafts. At the end of the day, they have to be the same ratios so everything spins at the exact same speed in perfect unison. And so long story short, we ended up reaching out to the guys at Yukon and they had our back again. Yukon helped us out a lot when we were working on the International, on the Scout. So this thing has all chromoly shafts, gear sets from Yukon in it, blah, 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 right? All right, switch back to the CUDA. This is now going to get a lot of the same stuff. So we reached out to our friends at Yukon.
Love you, Yukon!
Straight up, these dudes are awesome. If you're looking for gears, axles, free spin kits to convert a unit bearing front axle to a part-time free spin, where you actually disengage the unit bearing from the front shaft spinning the whole time, among all kinds of other stuff, Yukon has got some really good stuff. And for the most part, we've had basically everything out of the box fit really, really good. I think everybody's had some fitment issues. You get a bad gear set every now and again. The bottom line is the percentage of bad to good it's negligible. Across the board, in fact, in every situation that we've ever dealt with Yukon, we have had really good luck. May have been missing a bolt or something. Maybe it got thrown around in shipping and one of the bags got torn open or something. But at the end of the day, the hard parts that we got have been abused. We've had really good luck with that stuff. So it was natural for us to reach out to those guys again. And they had our back 100%. So we said, look, we need a 410 gear set for a Dana 60 Kingpin axle because this is a W350 chassis. And we need a 410 gear set for an 11.5 axle for a 2015 one-ton Cummins dually four-wheel drive truck. And they said, say less, fam, say less. All right, guys, so the first thing that we're gonna do on this car is get this thing picked up in the air, get the wheels and tires off, drop the rear drive shaft out, pull the rear diff cover off, and start getting everything assembled and ready. We're gonna drain the fluid, get all of our tools, all the crap laid out that we've got to go in this axle, and then we're gonna go over some of the things that we're gonna do while it's in here. So Steven's gonna start putting all the parts together. We're getting a couple of tables laid out so we can set all of our parts up. Then we'll get this thing drained, wheels and tires off, get down in there, start talking about what we got and what we're gonna get. Hang in there. Okay guys, well, we got the diff cover off of this thing and we're gonna take a look on the inside. All right, so for those who are not familiar with what you're looking at inside here, this is the carrier, this is the ring gear. These are the main caps that hold the bearings into place, that hold this assembly. You have axle shafts that slide in. Steven, can you put the camera on that axle tube and show the fine folks? That hole where Steven is right there.
Right there is
It
where
runs down the inside, holds that shaft. So those slide in the axle tube from the far ends all the way in, and they have the teeth that are on them are splines, and they come in and they spline into the side gears that are inside here. Anyway, what we're doing right now is just going to go over and we're going to roll a pattern to show you what the existing gear set in this thing has. This is a 342 gear set. You can actually do the math on the ring gear. There's typically a stamp that will tell you the number of teeth that's on the pinion and the number of teeth that's on the ring gear. You divide the one by the other and you end up with what your final gear ratio is. This one is a 342 gear. Very common gear set in all your 2013 and up 3/4 ton and 1 ton trucks. There are other gear options available, but this is the most common that they built. So what we're gonna do, even though we're going to a different gear set, this is I believe AAM is a 5-cut gear, and I think the Yukon is a 2-cut gear. We'll have to clarify that here in a minute, but either way, they come up with different patterns when you roll the pattern. Where the pinion, which is the gear up inside there, where that gear contacts this gear, you end up with a pattern. And you can see when I spin that, how those mesh together, right? Okay, and these are helical cut. You can see that these are helical cut because helical cut gears run silently. Straight cut gears do not. And helical cut gears make little to no noise. They mesh easier. There's probably other benefits to running a helical gear over a straight cut gear, but I do not know what they are. Anyway, for what we're looking at right here, well, let me rephrase that. We are going to roll a pattern and show you what the pattern looks like on this gear set. When we pull this out, we are going to use the same shim that's under the pinion head. Show you that in a minute. And we're going to set our new gear set up. We're going to put our new ring gear on this carrier, reinstall this in the hole, use the shim that's under the pinion, which is in there, the same one that it came with factory, and we're going to roll that pattern and see what we got. What we do not have is a pinion depth gauge. Never had one, never owned one, couldn't even tell you the first thing about using one. So we do it the old-fashioned way, which is called work your ass off. Okay, so we're painting some marking compound up on here. A lot of people are familiar. If you've done gear sets, you're looking at yellow paint for the most part. This paint right here we got from Napa because we ran out of yellow. Non-drying Prussian blue is what this is called. I've had a lot of people ask about that when they've seen us doing gear sets. And
it's basically Russian with a P.
Yeah, Russian with a P. But it's basically, you just got to have something on there. You could probably use I don't know, not everything, but you want to use something that's made for marking compound. But either way, Steven's going to roll this thing around. We don't have a whole lot of resistance on the carrier right now. These bearings are used, so it doesn't roll real hard. He's adding some preload right now by holding the ring gear and turning the pinion gear. And what we're trying to do is simulate basically some force against it, because you're going to get a completely different pattern if you just free spin this ring gear or the pinion. You'll get a different pattern than what you would get with a load on it. So we're looking at the drive side and we're looking at the coast side on here. So this is the drive side of the gear. Roll it up a little bit more, Steven. So right here you can see the drive side of the gear. We've got, it looks fairly even across the tooth. Like you can see that it's lightly contacting because it's a little bit darker blue. Then this gets real thin, and then it gets a little bit darker out at the end. And this is a pretty good pattern. You're looking for contact across the broad side of the tooth, because that is going to basically apply less PSI to one specific part of the tooth and more across the tooth as that pinion is scrubbing across and making this climb. Go back the other way. So this is the coast side, and this doesn't look terrible either. This is almost basically center, and there's a lot of opinions on how to set this stuff. The truth is, when you're just rolling something in for an example, this is going to give you a pretty good idea of what you got, but not an exact understanding of what you got under load. Anytime, if you really don't know and you've got enough stuff assembled, you can paint this up, actually put it in gear, back the thing up, maybe even power brake it, not like boiling the tires, but just putting resistance against it.
Load it up.
Load it up, drive forward, drive back, and then you can find out if you've got enough heel or toe, depending on what your application is. You're typically going to stay on the drive side, you're going to stay favoring one side, so when the power is applied to it and these actually misshape and the bearing side load and all that power gets applied, it'll actually give you a different pattern than it will with you rolling it by hand. So either way, if we end up with a pattern that looks like this on the drive side and like this on the coast side, we're going to be pretty good. We're probably going to box it up and send it. So anyway, just wanted to give you a quick rundown of what a typical pattern looks like. This is about 180, 90, 200,000 mile rear end. This gear set looks just fine. You could totally reuse this or continue driving on it, but we're going to take it out and sling it in the trash, and we're going to put a set of 410s in. So we have the ring gear installed on the carrier. We have the new bearings, the carrier bearings installed both sides. We have the pinion bearing installed. This is the larger of the two bearings, and it has the master shim, which is the shim that comes out from underneath the factory pinion. We swap that over. We always start there as a benchmark just to see what you got. Sometimes you get lucky and you only got to move a little bit. Sometimes you get really, really lucky and you don't have to move anything at all. But we have two different manufacturers of gear sets. We got two different ratios. One pinion is considerably larger than the other because we went to 410. You end up with a smaller pinion. It's kind of how that works. The lower the gear ratio, the higher numerical the number is, the smaller the parts are on the inside. Yeah, so we've got a lot of the preliminary stuff done. I've got to throw a couple of bearing braces inside the housing. So pinion head bearing and the front bearing. The races need to go in. Once those are in, then we're going to slide the pinion in, and we're going to install the front bearing, and we're going to set the preload either using an old crush sleeve or a new crush sleeve. I've even done it without a crush sleeve by just barely inching up on it, where you can get some resistance against the pinion so that we can roll the first pattern. And so for right now, we're not installing the pinion seal. We're not doing any of that stuff. We're not puttying the splines on the yoke. We're not doing any of that stuff. We're not using any Loctite. This is all going to more than likely come apart at least once or twice more. If we get super lucky, it'll be a minimum of once or twice.
Let's get lucky.
Yeah, I want to get lucky because pulling it apart 20 times really blows. Boom, shakalaka. Beep. No,
that's
hey,
good looking.
For real, that we're gonna roll with that pattern. That's what we're gonna do, because we are just favoring the inside of the tooth. We got a motor that's gonna make a ridiculous amount of power.
We got 39.
We got a 39-inch tire. Like, this is pushing the limit of what the ring and pinion, even in something like this, will really honestly handle. Like, you start wheel hopping this thing, and you're gonna be missing teeth on old pinion up in there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
you don't want it to wheel hop under power, because then you're going to end up with what they call neutrals.
Yeah, exactly. Every gear you have is neutral.
Exactly.
With chunks.
Yeah.
Hard. So, that's what we got on the drive side. If you don't like that, well,
then like, subscribe, and comment below.
Yeah, I was going to
say.
We'd
love to hear what you have to say.
That's what I was going to say.
I
wasn't going to say go stick your head in the mud.
No.
I was going to say go ahead and like and subscribe.
Yep.
But what we did not do is give you a pattern on the coast. So, Steven, if you would, zing-zang us over there on that little deal.
You want me to back it up?
Yeah, so what we used is a drill that does not impact. This thing has a lot of torque, and I was putting resistance against the ring gear, and he was spinning that, and that was actually giving us a lot better average of what we wanted to see. So, spin backwards real quick, Steven. I'm trying to get situated here. All right, so I'm just kind of holding this rag right here to keep from burning my palm and losing meat. And I'm just giving some resistance. All right, bro, go ahead. All right, so he's spinning it backwards, and we are loading the ring gear the opposite direction. All right, that's probably good, Steven. And that's gonna give us a pattern on the coast side, or the side that's gonna get used whenever you go into reverse. The coast side would be used when you let off the throttle.
As in coasting?
Yeah, as in coasting. Like when the converter's locked or you're in gear, you've got some coast happening. And even the coast side pattern is looking good.
This is better than the gears in my truck.
Yeah, no, this is a really, really nice pattern. There's you can tell that this is fairly centered up on the tooth as well. So this isn't a ring and pinion set that ought to make really much noise, if anything at all. Yukon gears are typically freaking quiet,
They're
dude.
awesome.
Factory AAM gears that's kind of, I mean, it's good stuff. AAM is really, really good. But when you run into the aftermarket, Yukon is as consistent as anything.
We love you, Yukon.
We actually just pulled the yoke back off. We're going to clean the inside of the splines out on that, and we're going to put some pipe dope on it, like you would use for a pipe thread on a plumbing fixture. We use a liquid version of it. It's pasty, and you use it to keep gear oil from leaking actually down and out of the splines. It will leak. A lot of people do pinion seals, and they think that the pinion seal is bad, and it very well could be, but a lot of times people don't realize that the inside diameter of the yoke has to have paste on it. You can see some residual from where this came apart from the factory, and that keeps it from being able to actually wick down and leak out the threads of the nut, and then it'll actually, you'll see what looks like a pinion seal leak. It's actually leaking out of the threads, throwing everything underneath the vehicle. So where we're at right now, carrier's been pulled out. It's sitting on the bench. We have our spanners set where we know we can get right back to where we were. We had good preload. We had 6 thousandths backlash, 6.5 thousandths backlash. We had a good pattern. So we got the carrier out, knocked the pinion back out. We are using a brass drift and a center punch. Using brass because this metal is hard, but it's softer than the steel of the pinion, so you won't, as long as you don't get real dumb on the threads and beat on it, you won't mar up the front of the pinion. And it's also a good idea to thread the nut, down to flush, even a used one. But with some good practice, you can keep from ruining the threads, or use a center punch and knock this back out of this front pinion bearing, because it holds it into place, the press on the shoulder. So when the pinion comes out, and after your initial setup, then you're ready to install your crush sleeve. And the crush sleeve is the piece that's actually going to hold tension against the bearings to keep preload on them. Earlier axles use shims to set the preload and it's fixed. Crush sleeve axles like this one use what's called a crush sleeve. And this piece slides onto the collar. This is actually a smaller pinion than the one that we put in this truck. So, oh, well, I guess it doesn't matter. The crush sleeve still fits. But the crush sleeve goes on the shaft. You've got the big bearing down here with the taper facing this way. You got the small bearing up here with the taper facing the opposite way. And so they're kind of fighting each other. And this goes in between, and you use it to set the amount of tension against those two bearings to keep them true under load. And when you put the crush sleeve in initially, it's this tall, it's got a little rib in it, and you crush it. That's you use the nut, like the old nut, you set it up there, put the yoke on, you crush it, you set the preload on the bearings, and that's determined by the amount of force it takes to turn it. There's a whole procedure for doing it. We're gonna sum it up as quickly as we can here. So yeah, with the new crush sleeve on, which is what we have in there now, we're going to put our yoke on and set this preload. And now I'm gonna set the preload before I pipe dope the splines of this and before I install the pinion seal, because the pinion seal has drag on it too. And you don't wanna get insufficient pinion bearing preload by thinking you're good and it's really just the drag of a brand new pinion seal. So this is gonna get installed, one more mock-up, crush the sleeve where it looks like this one. See how this one's much more pushed out and shorter. You can see that it's a little bit shorter because this is the old one. And once we get that crush and the preload set right without the pinion seal, then we'll pull it back apart, install a new nut with red Loctite, bring it back up to the preload setting with a new seal and pipe dope, and on to the next step, which is axle shafts and actually putting the carrier back in and setting it back up, and then we can put the axle shafts in and diff cover on, add fluid, and put it back together. So. Guys, so Steven's got the transmission fluid topped off and we've got the rear diff topped off, everything set back on the ground. And what we're gonna do now is wire up the connector for the valve body. So because it's a full manual valve body, there's only two things that we're gonna use electronically. That is the lockup solenoid and the overdrive solenoid. So this is your standard connector that goes to the top end of a 47 or a 48 RE. We're only gonna use 3 wires. You use pin 1, that's 12 volt. This is key on fused power. You use pin 7. Pin 7 is lockup. This controls the converter clutch. That will lock the converter whenever grounded. And pin 6, that is overdrive. Whenever this grounds, you get overdrive. So this transmission is designed to lock up as early as 2nd gear, and we're gonna get all this wired up and show you how that's gonna function, and then I guess we're gonna see Matt send parts to the stratosphere maybe. So hang in there.
What are you doing?
Trying to hot wire this car. I'm gonna steal it.
You know Matt's here, right? He might know that you're doing that to his car.
He won't know.
Okay.
I'm gonna haul ass when I get it running, just drive out and be like,
Leave him here, he won't know.
yeah, anyone could have done that.
So for real, what are you doing?
I'm finding a circuit to tap into so that I can power the valve body for the overdrive and lockup, and I think I just found, I'm pretty sure I found a fused fan power under the dash, so we got key on ignition. I've got Napa bringing me an inline fuse just in case this isn't fused.
And that other, where's the other switch going that you got?
Okay, so overdrive is going to be here. You'll toggle, it's a one click on, one click off. That's overdrive.
Sweet.
We're going to put lockup. We got this cool little switch here. Typically don't use these because it's like Fast and Furious, but like lame, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't want to wire a light, and it does kind of look cool in something that hauls ass and has second gear lockup.
Well,
So
it's a reminder for sure when it's, you know,
yeah, so
flipped
when
open
this thing
like
is
that.
open, you're locked, and you know, closed you're not. And I'm gonna mount it right up here between the key and this steel, and that's where it's gonna go.
Sweet, sweet.
So got I don't know, 20 foot of wire to run, tie in a few circuits, and we'll be done with that part. They're putting the intercooler in, putting the grill on the front of it. I don't know who this guy is.
This
but
one?
He just walked in like he owned the place. This other gentleman, he's very nice.
He's the master intercooler builder. So,
Oh!
we're gonna put that to the test.
Hey, no, but for real, check out the
Never going.
intercooler. Stevie, good dude. The thing is dope. Okay, like it just is.
It looks good.
It looks like you can throw it off of a freaking building.
Hey, and
just
It's layered up.
the last one looked really good too, though.
And then there's a Texas.
I like the last one better.
Yeah.
How many hours you got in that intercooler?
I don't know how much did you pay.
He's like, I don't like to talk about
All right, so we got it running again. Pretty cool. Checking the trans fluid level, topping it off as we need. Then we're gonna find out whether the lockup and overdrive switch works. We got our driver here, professional. We got our intercooler fab guy here, professional. Okay, boys and girls, we got it done. Matt's fixing to split. You excited?
Over under on if it makes it home.
I think it's gonna make it.
I think it's gonna make it.
I think it's gonna make it.
I'm aiming it, not like last time when I just floored it within 30 seconds. I'm aiming it all the way home.
Yeah.
But try to make it last for now, and then we'll get aggressive, you know, progressively more aggressive.
I like it.
go. Yeah.
That's a t-shirt. Progressively more aggressive.
That's a responsible way to get aggressive.
Exactly. I like it. I like it. We overcame a few things today. We had the wiring took about 4 times as long as we thought it was going to. Brandon came by and threw the intercooler back in. That thing looks killer. He's gonna have a video go up. Matt's gonna have a video up. Y'all ought to go check those dudes' stuff out if they already aren't posted. They're pretty good about beating us to the punch.
I guarantee you mine will.
Okay, so yeah, probably be this guy first, then us, and then Brandon.
Check Brandon's in a couple weeks.
Yeah. For a refresher on what happened here today. But we got everything done. We got the gear set done. We basically, in the past probably about 30 hours, did a gear set on it, wired up overdrive and lockup, topped the trans fluid back off, and we drove it up and down the road. I think we're good, man. We're pretty excited. So here in a couple hundred miles, we'll see Matt back here, pull the diff cover off, see what our ring and pinion and our pattern and everything looks like, and hopefully we don't need any more adjustment. And we'll be that much closer to letting y'all see what it looks like shredding faces off. Progressively, more aggressively.
Nailed it.
All right, till next time, guys. Later.